Good morning. How's it going?
Is it?
Yeah. I mean,
Is it good morning?
it's a Friday in Christmas time, so yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah. It's cold up here in Western New York this morning, and I had to fight my kids all morning. They were real jerks, jumping all over the place. Couldn't get them dressed. Nobody wanted to wear coats. Nothing.
Hmm.
So not the best morning. We're working on it. Unfortunately, I think the elf on the shelf saw some of the naughty behavior
Uh,
too. So that sucks for those guys.
Now we get to chat. We got GC's here. Chris Seth is in here. What's up, guys? I saw that Zach Stacks has to work, so sorry to hear that. But maybe he'll catch the replay.
Yeah. I mean, you could always pretend you're working and just throw some earbuds in.
Right. Exactly.
I think that's what a lot of people do. I hear from people all the time that are like, "Yeah, no, I'm at work, but I'm hanging out listening." So it's been pretty well received doing the spaces. I feel like we got a couple requests last week to do ones when we weren't planning on it. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's always interesting because you never really know. I mean, sometimes you know that someone's going to join, but most of the time it's like we know when you guys see them pop in, and it's kind of a fun surprise. It's like, oh, Dave Tilton's here, or oh, here's Greg or Eric showing up. It's just
Right. Yeah, we put the link out to like our chats and stuff like that, but you never know who's got time, especially,
exactly.
We're lucky. You're working from home and I'm at home and have this window where I don't have any kids for a little bit. So, but not everybody has the opportunity to do that and come out and speak. But the nice thing about spaces is even if you have like 5-10 minutes, you can hop on and space out with us.
Yeah, it's definitely been a fun format to play around with.
Yeah. Here, I got to sound. Did the link get sent to the Cover One Slack channel? Here, I'm gonna do that now.
You gave them the 5-minute warning. But
In
yeah.
the
The
in our
Slack
group
channel.
DM. Yeah, I want to send it over here to Slack to
Yeah, I did
invite everyone.
I did post it there about a half hour ago, but yeah, you might as well post it
Perfect.
again.
Yeah, man. And for those of you who are unaware, Cover One, our network, great network, full of YouTube content, podcast content, anywhere you go, subscribe, like, do all that stuff. But additionally, we have a Slack channel. It's a really cool community we've built over the years, but you have to be a premium member to do that, a OnePass premium member. So head over to cover1.net/OnePass. You can sign up for our premium membership there, but it's a super cool community. If you enjoy like spaces and the conversations that are about the Bills here, I think you would really enjoy the Slack channel and what that community adds to your kind of internet involvement with being a Bills fan, right, Chris?
Yeah, it's definitely a fun place, and not just on game days. I mean, the game days, it definitely gets the most traffic. I mean, people are just in there chatting like all day, all throughout the game. But even throughout the week, I mean, there's always a steady conversation going on about the Bills, and it's definitely less extreme than Twitter. So if you like to talk about the Bills throughout the week, and Twitter is a little bit too much for you, then the Slack channel is a great place because people are a little more rational in there.
For the most part, there's been a couple times this season. There was a couple moments
during
that slump where I walked in there and I thought of the community GIF where they're like, he walks in with the pizzas and there's fire and people swinging stuff. Like, we're still all Bills fans at the end of the day. I think, at least we try to be understanding of that, that we're still Bills fans. But I do think it comes back grounded in reality quicker than the tweet machine does, for sure.
Are you practicing the washboard for like a Jugs band or something over there?
No, why does it sound terrible?
No, you sound fine, but there is some sort of a noise happening that's kind of funny.
Weird. It might be Slack.
Oh yeah,
going
maybe
off in the background. I have my computer open and Slack is just rattling off behind me. I don't know if it's picking that up. My wife hates that. If my computer's open, speaking of the Cover One Slack channel, it is going so consistently that if I have it open on my desktop and the speaker's going, it just goes nonstop. Every like 30-40 seconds a message is coming through. She's like, God, can you shut that off? I had to turn the notifications to Slack off.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
On my phone, because like if I'm ever at a store and my kids, I just like throw them my phone or something to shut up for a minute. But then the Slack just going so often that they kept ending up in Slack. Like they kept touching that notification and ending up in Slack. So I had to turn off notifications on the main channel.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any notifications on for Slack. I just dip in there when
You're
I can.
hanging out. Yeah, go in and hang out. Enough about Slack. I think it's William Trout. It's upside down and backwards, so I can't really see. But what's up, Bob?
Well, hey, man. Happy Friday. Go Bills. I just wanted to I just kind of a quick question and centered around the OBJ topic. I just don't.
Here we
Are we
go
growing weary
again.
with the recent comments that he just came out and says he's not really interested in playing in the regular season and he's more interested in playing in the playoffs because that's what gives him the fire now. I'm just like, I don't know. That just, to me, that gives me pause and just makes me a little weary in that realm. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just overreacting.
So, Chris, were those the comments from that you heard last night?
That was from the shop, which is, yes, that was the Amazon Thursday Night Football alternate stream. Someday you guys are going to let me stop talking about OBJ, and that'll be a nice day. For now, we do need to talk about it. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't checked out the shop yet, it's a lot of fun. It just premiered a few weeks ago. It's on Thursday nights. It's in the Amazon Prime Video app. It's an alternate stream that's it's run by LeBron James and his agent Maverick Carter, Paul Rivera, the creator of the show The Shop, the HBO series, and they have great guests. I mean, last night they had Cam Jordan on there, Lil Rel. They had YG was there, Danny Trejo, and OBJ was there. And yeah, I was surprised because I was talking to Aaron about this offline. I was kind of surprised I didn't see Bill's Twitter talking about this conversation that was going on, because OBJ was on the shop for like half of the game last night, and the conversation kept coming back to his current situation, the visits, where he's going to sign, because that's what everyone was most interested in talking about. So there's just a ton of I made a ton of notes about it, and I mean, I think let's run through it, man. I mean, the only thing that I've seen out there so far was this clip that Amazon posted a little while ago that now people are starting to pick up on, and we will get to that. But so when he comes on, Mav is kind of like the de facto host of the show, at least when LeBron was out of town last night. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it when LeBron's actually in studio, but so he like zoomed in for like a little bit at the beginning and then he dropped out. But Mav asked him, you don't want to wait until the playoffs, do you? And OBJ was like, I'm going to take my time, say 4 or 5 weeks, see how I feel. And then someone said, if the money's right, and OBJ like smiled, he kind of pointed at him and shook his head and said something that sounded like, yeah, they got to make it right. Like someone's got to make it right. He said he for sure wants to play for a contender. I'm going to skip ahead to that quote from that was on Twitter, because I know that's what the question was about. He was saying that they asked him point blank if he'd made a decision. He said, no, he hasn't made a decision. And for him, it's like, I would like to be in a stable environment, get up at 6 a.m., leave at 6 p.m. for 4 weeks, and then let's talk about it. And people are taking that to mean that he doesn't want to sign for 4 weeks, or doesn't want to play in the regular season, which I think it's more the latter. He said he hasn't played football he's been playing football for a long time. He's not saying that he couldn't step in and play the regular season, but he doesn't see the point. And he'd rather play when the pressure's on, when the lights are on. He said, I need some time. Like, he's still healing up. It makes sense. I mean, he just had that injury in January. We've seen Trey White just come back after, a year. And we're not quite there in terms of OBJ's recovery. So I wouldn't get too twisted about, him needing a few more weeks to get up to speed in terms of his health. But he said he would like to work. He'd like to go in there, learn a playbook, and ramp up to play football. So it was really interesting, though, man. So Mav Carter, it clearly wanted him to go to Dallas. and was sort of lobbying for Dallas throughout the broadcast. The only thing that OBJ said about the Cowboys was that the facility was top notch. I thought it was kind of curious because Mav kept bringing it back to Dallas, and Odell just wouldn't engage about Dallas. He had plenty of chances to say nice things about, the team, the owner, the coaches, and he just sort of didn't engage on that. And actually, it was kind of interesting. We saw that he went to a Mavs game with a bunch of players. He said that it was actually in New York where I think it was Dayball. I can't remember exactly who said this to him, but I think it was Brian Dayball said to him, "Well, I wish you were here on a different night because we'd take you to the Garden to see a Knicks game." And that got Odell to thinking like, "Oh, let me look and see who's going to be in Dallas when I'm there." And he saw the Suns were going to be in town. I guess he and Devin Booker are boys. So he decided he's going to go to this game. So it wasn't like the team set this up as like a recruiting thing. He was going to the game, like that was his choice. So I just thought that was a sort of a fascinating wrinkle in terms of the Dallas visit. But they were teasing him about how Buffalo was out because it's so cold. And OBJ was like, he shut that down. He's like, he went on to talk about how 17 took him into his house and he was just himself, like a real person. And he can totally see why Diggs and Vaughn love him so much. I gotta say, man, I don't know if the Giants are totally out. We've been talking about the Giants being out, and there's a caveat here. Paul Rivera, one of the other hosts, is a Giants fan and was openly campaigning for him to pick New York. So this could have just been like one of those things you say to throw the guy a bone. But he said, "I'll say this, and it don't mean nothing, but I don't feel like me and Saquon Barkley got to do what we were supposed to do. He's my brother. He's my family. It's something that feels special." So my take is that he likes the idea of playing in New York the most, but but
Saquon ain't going to be there.
Well, yeah.
Maybe,
we're talking about this year, though. I think that he likes the idea of like winning the Super Bowl there this year, but he's not confident that they're a legitimate contender, right? And
he's also not that dude, right? Like, he's not prime Odell that is going to come in and win the Super Bowl for any of these teams he goes to. He's just going to be more gas on the fire.
Yeah, I mean, he will be a contributor, but does he carry a team? I don't know that he can be like 30% of the offense or whatever.
Right.
Someone asked him go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, was there other? Go ahead.
Yeah, so they asked him what his priority was, and he's like, "I need some money." People are out here acting like they know my bank account. They're like, "You're good," and I'm like, "I appreciate that. Yes, I'm good, but I also know what I'm worth. I know what I bring to an organization." And I don't want to give you the impression I think he's being greedy, because I think, hey, good for him. Like, you know what you're worth, get that money. They asked him if he felt like he got the information he needed from his trips. And he said he felt like he did, but there was this other part of me that feels like I don't know if I need to go and do all that. If that's what it was, then you should have told me before. I would have thought it out, planned it out. But you got to think about it. I missed a week of training, and I'm on a tight schedule to return. So it really sounds like he hasn't heard an offer he likes yet. I'm pretty confident the Bills have made him an offer. We've talked about that before. We know Brandon Beane often has his number when it comes to deals, and maybe something happens that changes that number. But he doesn't like to drastically overpay for players, which obviously is a good quality in a GM. But
he does a little bit, because he also has talked about telling his other front office staff to hold him back.
Yeah,
like I think he's more like me, but knows it's not the smart thing to do. Like, he knows getting in a bidding war is not the right thing to do, but he likes nice shiny toys like the rest of us.
So yeah, I did qualify that with drastically, because you're right. I think he does. He's willing to overpay, but I don't think he's willing to like drastically overpay.
Yeah, he's not going to do anything crazy. Not in this scenario with OBJ, but like in a scenario, you won't see him trade multiple years of first round picks to mortgage something now, stuff like that. Like, he's not going to wreck the team. But if he can find a way to make the money look bigger than it is, and appear as though it's an overpay, and still pay a substantial amount of money and give a bunch of Pagula bucks, he'll do those things.
So the longer this drags out, I think the greater the chance that some other team gets back into the mix here. I mean, as long as offers stay on the table and nothing's done. I mean, Philly and San Fran are both very much contenders. They both have almost as much cap space left for this season as Dallas does. The Chiefs have almost $5 million. You could see a dark horse team come back in, but this thing something could happen any day, but it also could drag out for a little longer here. We might, have to stay on this beat for a little longer.
Yeah, the good thing is, I think, at least for Buffalo, is there really isn't a rush to make it happen. Even though we, as fan base, probably feel annoyed, and I'm sure there's people that have hopped in here and hopped back out because we were talking about OBJ, and people are probably sick of hearing about it. One thing that is interesting to me, sort of just as somebody that follows the NFL and sports, and there's this new generation of athletes that have a voice and have platforms that we've never experienced before. And I think for some fans, it has been really hard to hear the truth about how leagues really operate and how these things really go down and what are the actual priorities that matter to players. Because I think for years we've been spoon-fed BuffaloBills.com press conferences, things like that, where players say, "Oh man, I couldn't be happier to be in Buffalo. Oh no, I don't care about the money. I had better offers out there and I chose to come play in Buffalo." Like, maybe some of those things have some truth to them, but at the end of the day, this is a business. Players operate as independent contractors within these billion-dollar businesses, and they do have to go get money. Von Miller was very upfront about his free agent process, and money really mattered, and it made a huge difference. And he was trying to get generational wealth for his entire family. That's something that matters. And I think a lot of times fans don't want to hear that reality of it. They just want guys that want to play for their hometown team and like the fans. And it's easy now for guys like Josh Allen to say all the right things and hit all the right cliches because he's already taken care of. He's got generational wealth coming his way. It's the right play, but it's also okay for OBJs who have achieved a lot, gained a lot of respect from every player league wide, have respect of the GMs, to be a voice for players that says, hey, it's okay to take your time. It's okay to be on your own schedule and not be rushed. It's okay to want to go get more money. I think that's fine. People are going to say it's selfish. People are going to say it's diva. They're going to say you don't want part of that on your team, but it is already on your team, right? This is pro athlete's life. And we're just experiencing it for the first time because of these platforms.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also agree with Patty Brad's comment here. You can't wait until OBJ signs somewhere so we can stop having to talk about this.
Definitely.
I mean, It's fun. It's, we got onto this OBJ beat because people kept coming into spaces and asking about him, right? And this whole time I've been like, really, we're doing this again? And it's been week after week, and it's to the point where it's I feel pot committed. We got to keep talking about it as long as it's news, and it is. I mean, people. You look at the comment section on YouTube, and half of the people in there are really excited they want him to sign, and half of them are telling us, please stop talking about this, but they're still engaging, right? So
this is part of the reason why he knows his value too. Yeah. Even off the field, again, the NFL is a business. So even if there's teams out there that aren't necessarily in the run for a Super Bowl, there is a value to having the ESPNs and NFL networks and people talking about your team and writing about your team and having interest in your city and team. There's values there. Again, another thing I always talk to fans about, all 32 teams want to win a Super Bowl, right? But not all 32 are going to. There's other forms of success in terms of a business operation that teams view, getting to the playoffs is a successful season for NFL franchises, selling lots of jerseys, selling your tickets. These are also all considered successes for NFL franchises. And so, yeah, I think the OBJ stuff's going to linger on, but sort of to transition back to this Bills team, Chris, over the last 3-4 weeks here, I've really come off the ledge of OBJ's a need for this team to back to, okay, I still want him. The Bills are in play for him. This is now back to being more of a luxury because I do see the offense feels like they're clicking a little bit more. They're adding a little more wrinkles of creativity. They're getting the run game going. It feels like it's ramping up and ascending at the right time, and that maybe OBJ is not the need that I thought it was 3-4 weeks ago. How are you feeling on that?
Yeah, so I guess I've never really felt like he was a need so much as a luxury. I mean, I agree with you that having seen the new, the offense be a little more multiple over the past few weeks has made it feel like even less of a need. The reason why OBJ is such a big story, right, is like it's not like another premier free agent is going to become available at this point in the season at any position, right? So like you're talking about a Super Bowl run, like he's kind of the last piece out there that of note, right? Obviously, there's plenty of free agents that could come in and make an impact, but in terms of big names, big talents, at this point in the year, right, I don't think you're going to see anybody else kind of shake loose of another team, right?
No, not at this point that I could see. And he is, last time we saw OBJ, he was on his way to being the Super Bowl MVP and super impactful in that game. And he's such an odd career arc for OBJ because starting his career in New York, that media circus, some of it was on him and immature things, but I don't think is the person that he was pegged to be by the media. I think they took it and ran with it, just like they have probably to a number of really good wide receivers over the years and misconstrued who they are in the media. But then he goes to Cleveland and like that's a terrible situation. And you see it sort of with Baker, where Baker's ended up at this point in his career. I think that storyline is also kind of interesting, that there was conversations just a couple of years ago that maybe OBJ was holding back Baker Mayfield. And now you're at a crossroads where Baker Mayfield just got claimed off of waivers, even though he had I also
only one team put a claim in.
Yes, and maybe we could talk about Baker Mayfield later because I think the recency bias though of that game and the way people are talking about him is like, okay, it's a cool story, make a 30 for 30 about it, but like he still is what he is. But the fact that people just a couple years ago were saying, OBJ was holding back that Cleveland franchise and that quarterback, and now that guy was basically, a one-team claim, and now you have all the Super Bowl contenders in the NFL clamoring and hosting OBJ, goes to tell you like how wrong the media has been about OBJ so far.
Aaron, how dare you disparage the media or Twitter? They are totally fair and unbiased at all times.
Yeah. I mean, and there's definitely been media that have ridden along with the OBJ hype all along and always hyped him up and been on his side too. So he's a polarizing dude. He's one of the most polarizing guys remaining in the NFL. So he's going to be a talking point as long as your team is in his sort of sphere of influence in terms of how the media is reporting on him. It's going to be a topic of conversation. It should be for anybody making content.
Hey guys, Cover One is excited to announce our new partnership with BetUS. BetUS has a live wagering on all major games, the best betting variety in the business, and an easy deposit and withdrawal process with the fastest payouts in the industry. Our loyal Cover One fans get a choice between two exclusive offers, either a 125% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,500 or a free $50 bet with no deposit required. Just use promo code COVER1 on the links provided in the show description below. BetUS, where the game begins.